Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
New technological innovations and practices are transforming the corporate travel landscape. In order to assess emerging trends and strategies, Thomas Cook, in association with the Taj Group of Hotels, has kicked off a three-city summit, Corporate Travel 2012, Convergence of Travel and Technologies. In this third and concluding panel discussion, we have with us an esteemed panel to discuss new technological framework, best practices and strategies that are profoundly impacting the corporate travel business.
Let me begin by putting change in context. Considering that each one of you represents a certain space within the travel industry, help us understand by way of the change that you have seen, which really strikes out, maybe just one change, to put it in context, which seems to be changing the way you do your business. Starting with you, sir.
Okay. Well, I think first of all, we as an organization, we represent change. We know that our technology and the impact it has on the travel industry represents change. So anytime one of our colleagues talks to someone in the travel industry, the conversation is always about change. Right. And being in the change business gives us some opportunity to talk about some of the new products and the new services. If I was to think off the top of my head for change in India over recent years, I think it's pretty clear that the move to the online space and booking travel, particularly leisure travel, in the online environment and going away from the older traditional model, it's been a phenomenal change to the Indian travel market, particularly for the leisure travelers. But foregoing the old way of booking travel and adopting the new way, which is going online and making a booking directly with one of the large online players here. And over the last couple of years, that would have to be the biggest change, we think, to the Indian travel market.
You know, one space that you're talking about which is affected the most is the airline business. Yeah. And you need to tell us what the upside or the downside really is for a brand like British Airways, for many of our users being able to go online. Yeah. And doing their business, making their travel plans.
I think online for us is another space that people can interact. I mean, I think technology allows us really to interact with the consumers in different spaces, and it's really, for us, it's another channel. It's something that we want to allow people to have that where they want it, and it may be on your web page in your house. It may be you want to buy it on your phone. You may still want to go to a travel agent and speak to someone face to face. Or you might want to call up a call center and speak to someone there. So I think we look at it as part of the portfolio of spaces to interact. I think it's another one. It's becoming bigger. It's obviously growing as more people want that instant access to information or prices or booking, which a travel agent maybe can't give you. They're not 24 hours all the time. They're maybe not where you want them to be when you are there. So I think it's something that really it's that flexibility it gives people, and you know.
I think the way you need to look at technology is in two aspects. One, as a facilitator, that basically means that being able to keep up with the dynamism of the business and the business requirements. For instance, we are in the business of customers. I wish I had an app right now on all your phones that could say that, guys, you know what? If you're going to be here till 10:30, at 11 o'clock, Vista is throwing a free drink on every drink that you have, and you know how many people are going to go there. Yes. So dynamism of that, making it really relevant for the consumer, be it brand, be it transactional, or be it an experiential aspect in nature. So how relevant is technology facilitating that? And on the other hand, I see the role as an innovator. For example, in-room mood lighting, in-room technologies, being able to control with an iPad. I mean, how great is that? Or being able to just use your mobile to check into a hotel, to walk into the hotel room, just put it in front of your door, and that becomes your identification. I mean, how convenient would that be?
Right. Where do you fit into this entire story when he's talking about, and I find this very interesting, where you're talking about just facilitation. Is technology just playing a facilitating role right now? And for a player like you, for Vodafone,
sure.
Are you seeing more to it than that, where there is going to be lots more innovation and where there is going to be some standardization where I'm accessing services?
Okay. So if you look at it, travel is pretty much synonymous to move, and move is synonymous to mobility. Now, while mobility has been around for a while now, it's primarily about voice. It's been primarily about a human being talking to another human being, and the changes that's been coming over the past few years is mobility is becoming an enabler for the new business models. So how do you offer the right, how do you place the right offers when the person is, let's say, near your hotel or near your place?
Right.
Okay, can you identify the location of the person, map onto his interest areas or his, if he's your loyalty card member or not, and then offer him the right, give him the right offers and so on. So what we see is mobility becomes an enabler to the new business models. Mobility is becoming enabler to new ways of acquiring customers and their interests and so on.
So what's keeping us back? What is it going to take to propel the use of technology to the next level?
Well, I think there's a couple elements to that. Obviously, there has to be organizations that are willing to invest in an unproven technology, and there's risk associated with that. Not all companies want to or are able to do that. But even for those who do invest in an unproven technology, they have to be able to find a market and a relevance to the market. Not all technology seems so obvious right at first, and yet becomes part of mainstream activity. And just taking the mobile device as an example, you're looking at it, we used to think of the mobile as the telephone, the mobile phone, but we actually call it a mobile device now because it goes into the tablet area, and the tablet is a mobile device, and the tablet creates a whole bunch of opportunities which don't exist in the phone, the old-fashioned mobile phone. When you look at technology being taken up by other environments, other markets, the corporate world has taken up the corporate online booking tool as a device for making their bookings online. We're talking corporate now. But in the Indian market, the corporate world in India have not adopted that tool yet. And similarly, the mobile device is also used for changing, for instance, in the taxi on the way to the airport, changing your seat online, or checking in online, and even using the mobile device, a barcode, as your check-in device.
Sure.
And India hasn't adopted any of those technologies yet. So I think there's a huge opportunity for furthering that technology in the corporate world here in this market.
Rearmed and ready to fight. This week on the Autocar Show, we find out whether Renault's Fluence or Chevrolet's Cruze can end the domination of Volkswagen's diesel Jetta.
If you're a first-time investor, frightened about that first move, planning for good old 40s, aiming to keep failures away, worried about those hard-earned savings, and puzzled about your choices, it's time to meet our experts, the Financial Planner, presented by BSE, Investors Protection Fund.
Presented by BSE Investors Protection Fund.
The reality is that the Tamil film industry is the second largest film industry after the Hindi industry.
Why? We wanted to announce our entry into the market and let the local talent know also that we're here to stay.
IMS Foundation, engaged in the overall development of engineering and manufacturing sectors in India, brings together a gamut of industries on the single largest platform. Reliance Broadcast Network Limited and Bloomberg UTV present IMS 2012. Book your space and get an opportunity to interact with global customers and industry leaders this September in Bengaluru.
This week on Inside India's best-known companies, we take you inside O&M, one of India's best-known agencies, headed by the guy they refer to as the godfather of Indian advertising.
In the years to come, if we don't reach out to India, we will be left behind.
So what's the big deal about O&M and the man who heads it? And how did they change the world of ads? Find out at these times only on Bloomberg UTV.
So here's my question. I've seen a lot more happen in the leisure space than in the corporate travel space. Why the difference?
Well, the corporate India has always functioned, I'm going to speak from a hotel perspective at the moment, is that they've always had something called a special rate or negotiated arrangement with a variety of hotel companies. They've got the convenience of picking up the phone and calling a person and having a conversation and getting the reassurance of booking. So today what we are finding is, whilst there's a lot of research that happens, the call that we may still get is, hey, listen, on your website I saw an X rate of $100, but my rate is 120. Can you give me 100 or can you give me a 90? And that's the kind of engagement that happens. So part of it is a bit still cultural. The second thing is, from an industry point of view, we like human touch. We like relationships. We like human touch. And we don't want a computer talking to us all the time. So we may do a lot of research. We may consume a lot of information using TripAdvisor, how good this hotel is, whether it should be there. But at the end of the day, when we are going to put the money on the block, and I come from luxury business, you put about $300 on the block, and that's not cheap money. You want to be reassured that you're going to be well looked after, and this is the right choice you're making. I don't know how many of you agree with that, but that is at least our perception, and that's the reason why perhaps.
Do you agree? It's for cultural reasons. You agree? It's because of that?
I think when it comes to corporate travel, when the company requires him to travel, he depends on the TMC. Example, Thomas Cook.
Right.
You have people working in Thomas Cook, will do the work for him. In terms of his duty travel or business travel, everything is done. He just has to give a call and everything's done for him. So he doesn't really require to do that himself. He can actually use that time to do something else in terms of work. But when it comes to personal travel, when it comes to leisure travel, the same gentleman who would spend amounts of time, as the gentleman said, looking for deals, looking for options, and so on. So which means there are two sides. It's about reluctance of using the time from a corporate perspective for corporate travel, but the same person will use a lot of time on his leisure business. So it's actually same person doing both things in a different way.
Right. So if it's a question of time, technology should help me be able to negotiate the element of time much better. I should be able to get the best deals, and if that's the requirement of corporate India, that I want to do this transaction in the shortest possible time and get the best deal in the bargain as well, I would imagine it would be technology that would make it happen.
I guess it's a bit of a cultural thing, because if you look at other corporate processes such as supply chain, CRM processes, a lot of them have been moving online. A lot of them have been moving from human beings to systems. Corporate travel hasn't. Part of it could be related to the fact that in India the corporate credit cards aren't very widely accepted even today.
Right.
Most of the corporates, they don't issue corporate credit cards to their employees. So if as an employee, if I have to go and book all my travels on my personal credit card, I'm possibly going to exhaust my travel limit very soon.
Right.
That could be another reason. Nothing to do with technology. It's pure finance and banking there. But that could be one of the reasons.
When you talk about technology, there's a certain element of standardization that we seem to get. And we seem to lose the essence of our brand. How much does that worry?
The information is getting richer and richer that we have as we collect it about our customers flying on our flights. And we're using that information now. If you fly on us today, you'll see the CSD has an iPad with that information. The people at Special Services in London have those. People at check-in now are having that information at the point that they interact with you at check-in. So it's being delivered. It takes time to know actually there's more information that we can collect and understand and analyze that is the kind of next step with this. We, I think, are still scratching the surface.
Right.
I mean, it's, again, talking about technology is at such a pace of development that as a company, the amount of investment it takes to keep up,
right,
it's impossible to keep up with it. You are always trying to
get
just
play catch up because, yes, technology has changed so quickly. At the Taj, would you see this any differently? Because once companies see value in it, companies will invest.
I mean, we as a company haven't had a choice but to invest in technology and continuously invest and enhance the way we interact with our guests. Whether it is getting onto Facebook and having a dialogue and conversation, whether being on TripAdvisor and being able to respond to a question. Like the other day, we got a response on TripAdvisor about a guest actually not being very satisfied with the service. We immediately got the message, we reacted to that. There was someone at the hotel who went and met the customer, who facilitated whatever was causing the dissatisfaction, and suddenly this is one of our it's a customer with calls the Taj one of his favorite hotels. I mean, that is the dynamism. We've had no choice but to keep up with this space. We are forced to adopt and embrace as much of technological innovations that we can bring into our life to facilitate, business, not just transactions, engagements with our customers.
Tell me from your perspective, because obviously they're going to use the same tools.
Sure.
Whether it's for transaction or for engagement. For you, what is more important to be able to derive more content for your business?
Sure, and that's why I go back to our earlier conversation where you mentioned about is technology the enabler or the innovation?
Yes.
And when it comes to transaction, it's pretty much an enabler. Okay, so you are helping your customer do something quite cheap, do something irrespective of time or place where he is. It's more about transaction. But when it comes to engagement, that's where the innovation comes in.
Yes.
Okay, so as a company, how would you use a technology to engage with your customers, not just when they happen to be staying within the hotel or traveling on the plane, but prior and after to that. Ourselves, and if you look at our future investments, more about being the innovator, being engaging with our customers, not just when they're talking, but also otherwise.
For those of us who love to spend money, the most expensive phones in the world.
We're headed to South Africa to check out the Palace of the Lost City.
We're also going to take a look at the coming together of luxury and technology. And we catch up with the trendy and fashionable Sonam Kapoor.
I never do anything to make a statement.
In association with Hyundai, this is where brilliance happens.
Time has come for rates to go down. This is the right time to cut rates and to cut Ciara. Market regulator SEBI has cracked the whip on 7 IPOs.
I am shocked at the audacity of the perpetrators of this offense.
The country can't do without an aviation industry.
I'm expecting 2012 to be better than 2011.
Since becoming company chairman in 1991, he has run the group's charitable efforts in education and much more. Tell me how you see India's biggest problems today.
One is energy, which is infrastructure. but it's going to be one of the stumbling blocks of progress if it's not dealt with.
Is it a big market for you? I mean, China's the biggest auto market in the world today.
We haven't gone into China at all.
Why?
First of all, it's a very difficult country to sell from outside. Now, Jaguar and Land Rover, which we now have acquired, is setting up a plant in China because China wants those cars, not Tata Motors. Internally, I've not been able to create the truly open, flat, transparent organization that I'd hoped we could do.
You earn money and invest it to better your future. But for what? To lose it over some unread fine print? That's not fair. I urge you to be alert all the time. And I promise myself and you to fight back for your rights.
Brought to you by Reliance Mutual Fund. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Because that, in a sense, suggests vision, suggests the use of technology in a more long-term kind of sense. Do you think that in terms of comparison with what's happening in India and the rest of the spaces that you do business in, is that a uniformity that you find, a universality in approach?
Well, Amadeus, first of all, Amadeus is in the transaction processing
yes,
business.
Of course. We know.
So that's how we make our money. That's the value that we add
yes.
to the industry, is that we connect travel buyers with travel sellers, and we sort of play a matchmaker in between. So at the very basic level, completing the transaction is good. However, if we continue to make that transaction for years and years and years the exact same way, we wouldn't be in business. And we obviously we have to innovate. We have to invest substantially. Last year, Amadeus spent 300 million euros on research and development worldwide. And when you're in so many markets around the world, you can see different markets mature at different stages. We've already talked on here in India, the enormous growth of the online travel for the leisure market.
Yes.
Really a world leader, a world beater for growth of online in leisure, but fallen behind some of the other markets in terms of corporate online travel. So that's just an example of how one market can carry two extreme cases. And we used to say that in the United States, trends in travel technology would start there and then be passed down perhaps to Europe next, and Asia would kind of get it last. But when you look at some of the technology, mobile devices, enormously popular
yes.
in developing world companies, more so than in markets like the United States. The Philippines, for instance, has the highest proportion of Facebook users per population of any country in the world, the Philippines. So the Asia market, in a broader sense, is innovating. Taiwan is just a hive of innovation for devices, mobile devices, the apps development, all sorts of gadgets and gizmos that we don't understand yet. Taiwan. So I think we're actually at this stage of maturity in a very good environment here, where there's a lot of innovation, there's a lot of advancement in some of these tools and these solutions for our industry. And I don't think we have to say anymore that we follow the United States 10 years later or something like that. I don't see that anymore. I think we're bigger and faster than that.
And I mean, I would like to come to the rescue of the corporate travel market in India. I think 7, 8 years ago, not many people had even heard what Global Distribution System, or the GDS, is all about.
Yes.
No one had heard what managed corporate travel is about. And someone would ask me, what do guys like Thomas Cook and Carlson Wagonly and American Express going to facilitate in terms of corporate travel? We manage it ourselves pretty well, right? Today, the same companies are investing far more greater trust and far more greater stakes in managed corporate travel.
I just want to understand from telepresence, and that's technology, but when it comes to travel, obviously, vis-a-vis what we're seeing by way of growth in the travel industry and technology actually helping it, how much of telepresence do we see as a threat to the travel industry?
Oh, I don't think it's a threat. It's just another way of doing business. It's another way of communicating. It's another way of channeling our business. I don't think it's a threat. And we have seen examples in other markets where people have said exactly that, and it hasn't happened quite that way. I personally think that any tool, any mechanism that encourages commerce across long distances probably ultimately is good for the travel industry. Sure, you might take a little hit in one little area, but we are in the global village these days, and costs are high for travel. So I think any opportunity to increase global commerce, to increase business over distances, ultimately is good for our industry.
Christopher, are you going to be as magnanimous?
I think that I completely agree, really. I think it's another way of communicating. I think in India, a place where relationships are everything, if you're going to be doing a deal, are you going to do that over a teleconference if it's a big deal? You're still going to go there. You need to meet with that person. It's non-essential travel is non-essential travel. If you needed to really go, there was no reason you should be going anyway. There's another opportunity to do if it's Skype or if it's a web conference. I think all of us here have been on them, and I know how difficult it is on conference calls to understand always what's going on, and it's not the easiest way of communicating. They are getting better, and they continue to get better with web video conferencing, where you can actually see the people. But I don't think it's going to replace the need for that personal interaction